are you, my friend?
Hello, stranger.
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice.
It is so good to hear your voice. I mean, it's only been, a year and a half, but still, that's a long time for us.
I know. It's been, I'm very lucky that I can continue to make movies and stories that I really love. But, after the writer's strike, and I almost did cliffhanger for a minute, and then this lined up where we all, between Sherry's schedule and everything, and then we really found the premise of how the next chapter can continue, and then it just all came together, and it's been amazing, and I'm proud of the proud of it, and then to have another movie that's coming out a month later, that we've already filmed. It's been they're good times to have.
I mean, my God, you're going to have 2 movies out in the same month at the same time. At the same time, you had Kandahar out. Scotty's film came out that year, so we had 2 Waugh films in 1 year. I'm in Waugh Wonderland with you. So
hey, I'll take it.
I am just so thrilled to see everything that you do, Rick, and to see how far you have come. And same thing for Scotty. It just tickles me, and I just know your dad has got to be looking down on both of you, just grinning from ear to ear.
Thank you.
It's just amazing. And let me tell you, when people see the new one, Greenland Migration, damn, number one, I have to thank you that Clark is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
As you know, the fact that you have a comet named Clark, that is very dear to my heart. So to see that continue just tickled me. But, Rick, the ending, I'm not going to say what it is, but you had me bawling like a baby.
It's, the thing that was really important to all of us, this is Jerry and Marina and Basil Iwanek and, and Adam Fogelson and everybody that was involved with the first film. We were all very proud of it. It was a film that got made and in the can, but then endured the pandemic. And, you're wondering, who the hell is going to see a disaster film in the middle of another disaster? And yet it became really so well regarded and well received. We were very adamant about getting this gift of going to make another movie in this space, and also that it wouldn't feel like a sequel, but more like the next chapter of this family. The emotional thrust was on everybody's mind. We didn't give a shit, to be honest with you, about what the spectacle would be. It was much more about what is the emotional integrity, what's the thrust of this family, what do we want the message of this second chapter to be, and to hopefully make it the tearjerker of the first movie, but also be about hope, that we will endure anything, and when we're together, no matter what it is. And it reminded me of movies like Saving Private Ryan and other pictures where you're living in so much detritus, but the way that the characters behave is what gives you hope, no matter how much the world is dismal around it. It really kind of became the mantra of what this movie was about, of knowing that the second movie is now going to be, we didn't pull any punches. We told you that Clark destroyed the earth, and we're going to show that it absolutely did. And when you shake up the snow globe and have to start over, how do you survive? And how do you go from surviving, which has been our big theme for the movie, to living again, to actually living your life versus just trying to hold on and survive it, very much like we all did in COVID.
Mm-hmm. What struck me with this film is that it screams human connection and the importance of family and a future for the next generation. You've got a lot of metaphor and allegory, not only about life and mankind and finding a way, but the determination and desire that man must have to overcome that tragedy. And how does John Garrity overcome that tragedy? By, instead of the family being torn apart and separated as it was in the first film, here you take full advantage of the fact they are together, they are in the bunker, and it is all about holding on to each other. You and Martin get some really beautiful close-ups in there of just tender moments where Allison will take John's hand, John will take Allison's hand, just as they're sitting there in a lifeboat or in the bunker. But it's all about the glue that now keeps them together. They were torn apart in the first film and had to get back together. Now they're not letting go of each other. And I love that. It is priceless to see that emotion come out. And you do that so beautifully, Rick, just so beautifully.
Thank you. I think that, the first movie was about meeting a family that was in conflict, and then wondering what happens when you realize that there's much bigger stakes of life and death and survival, and then how quickly we all forget the things that we've been arguing about or that are almost tearing us apart. And then to come to a new place in this movie of a new bond between a husband and wife and a child now that's missed half of their life underground, and letting their love endure that thing. What is the new complication of the family? What is the secret that has to be discovered? And then what we're all striving for is, what is our legacy, whether we're parents and it's about our children's legacy and their legacy, but us as human beings, what's our legacy to leave this planet in a different place, in better shape, when it's been destroyed from, and we're starting back from scratch, and all of the modern convenience we have, they're gone, and so it was a daunting task on this one, where we didn't have to reinvent the world in the first movie because we were living in reality, and we were just, using our, research and knowledge of comets and fragments and all the things that would happen and inertia and so forth. And that was the spectacle. But with this one, every single frame of the movie, once you leave that bunker, had to represent, we weren't lying to you. The world was destroyed. And now, how after 5 years would Mother Earth start rebounding? We studied the brush fires of Australia and the Paradise Fire in Northern California, and how fast Mother Nature rebounded when it was scorched completely black, how fast green started coming back. We studied Chernobyl, where the red forest and things where nuclear power, which we have all over the world, what happens when the safeguards are gone and there's no more electricity and that radiation leaks everywhere? What does vegetation look like? What happens to humans in their own type of, their own mortality? And so it was all of those things. But the other thing that always intrigued me the most was it wasn't just about Comet, and now, it wasn't just about Clark, this monster in the sky, and now this monster underneath us with seismic activity. It was man versus man. It was what we're capable of doing to one another.
Yep. And
the age-old question of, when it's life or death and it's all on the line, will you be selfless or will you be selfish? Will you help others, or will you only take care of yourself, even to somebody else's detriment? And all the shades in between that. And that was always going to continue to be the mantra for me with what the second movie represented.
You are such a master of the shades of gray, Rick. With everything that you do, be it FELON, be it Shot Caller, you are a master with the shades of gray. And the best thing about that is that you can make everybody see that with your visuals. You feel it, but then you also see it, so there's no disputing it. And this is where, working with Martin, you guys just did an amazing job here with the cinematography, and I love your visual progression of how we start in the bunker, the gray, the color palette of the concrete, and like a greenish tint with the light, and maybe a yellow pallor to some of the skin, and you go outside and it's gray. But then as we start on the Garrity journey, very slowly, we start seeing bits of color get introduced into the world, into what they're encountering, be it in Liverpool, be it in London. And you just gradually, incrementally use your visuals to build this idea of hope that we see by the end of the film. And I just love how you develop that visual grammar and the visual tonal bandwidth. when you and Martin sat down to talk about this one, what were your conversations like?
Well, one, he's an extraordinary cinematographer, and I really love that he's Scandinavian, originally from Sweden, because he understands light in a very different way. And, where we're using this new technology of cameras, like we shot on the Venice on that, and Shelter we just finished, we shot on the Venice too. We love that sensor, but it's really about the glass that you're putting in front of it, and the lens choices and so forth, where we're working in these real low lights, but also being very immediate and close to our characters and living vicariously through them. So then you're dealing with different mutations of color and so forth of that kind of thick air underground, which I think I've conveyed before in prisons, that kind of density that you feel when you're in those type of environments. But then also like where radiation or different things could be affecting the look. I mean, and one thing that worked to our advantage, because we were really about contrast in the movie and about how density of the air affects your contrast, is to go from the greater part of London, which we shot a lot, all over the greater part of London, and then to go to Iceland, where the light already is very muted, and especially the time of year that we were filming, and your contrast ratio is already really, really, really low. To have a Scandinavian cinematographer that understands that light, and to embrace it and not try to add contrast back, and try not to add back what we all as Americans, especially when they're in the Western Hemisphere, we live in a lot higher contrast light. It allows things to be much more romantic, and I think that it was also about, by the time that you get to Clark Crater, that you're unpeeling the detritus in a way that you start clearing out the air, start clearing out the message of what you're trying to say, and you also notice that the navigation of the Earth, the way that every species since the beginning of time has migrated to survive, and how they go from a dense population underground. By the end of the movie, there's just a few people navigating the Earth like the way God created it, and having the atmospherics do the exact same thing. That was always kind of our design of it.
I just love it. I love the color palette and its progression. I just love Martin's camera work. I love the camera work on this one. You've got a lot of wide shots, but then, as I said earlier, you counter that with these really close, intimate moments that show us just how glued together the Garrity's are. And I did get a chuckle, I have to say, where they're leaving the bunker, everything's crashing around, and Allison is yelling at Nathan, grab all of your insulin, all the insulin you can, because we're not coming back for it. Because in the first movie, it's because the insulin was left in the car that they got separated. And then it was all about them getting back together. So I did get a great chuckle out of that it was included in there, but now it's like, we're not coming back. So that was a nice touch, and I hope a lot of people pick up on that when they see it, because it's...
Yeah, well, I mean, she is dealing with a teenager now, and the irony that my sons were around when we made this movie were pretty close around the same age. I was like, yep, I understand.
I'm very impressed with what Roman gives you as Nathan in this one.
He's an extraordinary young actor.
God, I'll tell ya.
He's in that weird stage of his life too, of going from like a movie like Jojo Rabbit, where he was a very young boy, and then coming of age himself, and then, which I loved, is his point of view of what it's like to be that age, and then his discovery of like, what's his legacy, where's his place in this world, and all of these type of issues and thoughts that Nathan is having. Roman really kind of tapped into that and understood it.
Well, I have to say, not to give away any spoilers, but you really have this, the third act feels very Eden-esque and an Adam and Eve, a biblical scenario, because we also have Camille in the mix. So you've got Camille and you've got Nathan. So your mind can take it from there as to what could happen potentially down the line in the future. You bring back the fabulous, one of your partners in crime, Vincent Renaud, as your production designer. You've got some really cool production design happening in here, Rick. You've got, number one, the bunkers. The bunker and the tunnels in the bunker, which ironically mirror the Maginot Line that you set up as they're crossing a war-torn area, which is really cool. The former mail distribution plant where Laurent lives. Very homey, very beautiful when you get into the intimate moments in there. Similarly with Mackenzie and the hospital. Talk to me about working with Vincent on this one, because he really gets to build from the ground up, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I mean, Vincent goes back to FELON, with me. And, we've been on so many different journeys in the middle of the Arabian desert as well, in Kandahar. And on this one, it was great because we were both stretching into places that we hadn't really done, and I thought that was an interesting point of view for me. I've always been a Luc Besson fan, and I always said the best person to ever shoot New York City was Luc Besson in The Professional, because he was a Frenchman that saw New York in a very different way than most New Yorkers would, right? We get so desensitized to to where our own environments are. And I thought it would be, I like that there was a lot of production designers that you would go to that do big sci-fi stuff, that have done these big disaster things, but to go back to somebody that is super creative and will do the homework and investigation and do it in a very grounded way of not relying on any laurels or, I've done this 3 times in this movie, these disaster movies, but that you'd really come from a new, unique place. That's what I think Vincent really shined, was trying to bring something new to light, because it was all new for him as well.
One scene that really stands out is the perfect marriage between Vincent's work and Martin's work, is at that night scene while they are going through that Maginot Line trying to get to the other side of the battle in France. And number one, it's stunning. Number two, the whole Maginot Line that they're traveling through, it's very akin to the bunker situation and the hallways in the bunkers, and I love that. But then you have explosions. We cannot have a RIC Roman Waugh film without explosions. So I'm very excited that it's not Napalm Alley, but still beautiful explosions in the night with the tall trees, but we also get some of the clear of the sky. That's what's really cool here is, and I know, much of this is visual effects with the sky, we actually get to see with clarity things like Andromeda and the Milky Way and things that we don't usually see in life. But that sequence, it showcases Vincent's work, it showcases Martin's work, and I get RIC Waugh explosions. So for me, that's a perfect scene. I just want to tell you that.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, it really helps when you have Terry Glassback, who's been with me on a number of movies, who actually did Angel Has Fallen, where we blew up half of the Queen's Lake, in the drone attack.
Yep.
And so we really had a design for this war sequence to, again, using low light. We had barely any light out there, and allowing the explosions to be our luminance, and then that's where you have to have somebody like Martin Algren that is not scared of that, to work in super low light and then have an exposure ratio, that's 4 or 5 stops bright, of explosions, and then how to capture that and make it feel like, that it's all real but not overblowing. So
now, were you shooting day for days, night for nights? And at what point did the visual effects come in for that?
That whole sequence was done night for night.
Wow.
It was done for real. And there was some augmentation of wire removal and where a lot of explosions were going off, and we had even more debris, some of it practical, by the way, coming onto the actors and so forth, so that you had dirt hitting the lens and, and dirt hitting them and explosions and so forth. And, I will say Morena might have gave me a bit of a side eye when I had an explosion about 6 feet away from her go off, and we all know how to do that for safe and for real, but we definitely brought it really close to the actors and wanted to feel like it was immersive with the camera.
Well, I can tell you it was very immersive for me watching it, because not only did you make me cry like a baby in this film, but some of these scenes are so tense, because watching this film, it's like living in California with earthquakes. All of a sudden, you never know when they're going to hit. And that's what so much of this film is. You never know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, gunfire comes in the middle of the night, pierces and shatters the car window, goes through, we see blood spurt, body slump. These things just scare you. I was gripping the arms of my chair watching so much of this film, Rick. It just... amazing contrast of emotions and visuals that just come together for such powerful moments. You really have outdone yourself with the storytelling here. You really have.
Thank you very much. No, we're really excited about it, and I love this story. I love what this franchise what it represents, and we wanted to leave nothing on the table, to hopefully be not that has to be the final chapter of the Garrity's, but a chapter that really completes the story from the beginning of the first movie, and then could evolve from there. I mean, if we're so lucky, but we really wanted to feel complete in a way that you felt you understood this love story between Allison and John, and then the next generation to come.
Now, this is something that's interesting to me, is this is the first time that this is, quote unquote, your franchise. Granted, you did Angel, but that was the third film in the Fallen series. I still don't know if we're going to get a fourth one. I don't know if you're going to be involved in it, but it wasn't your franchise. This is yours. First film is yours. This film is yours. You haven't had that showcase before. How do you feel about that this is now, you have the original and you have a sequel? How do you feel as a filmmaker about that?
Well, I think that we're also lucky to have sequels, but I never felt like this one was going to be a sequel. But yeah, we call it that, but for me it was the next chapter. Like it was a way of, I loved it how the new Top Gun, really was an involvement of the Cruise character in the next generation. So it wasn't just a straight like, hey, let's just do a complete, sequel with a brand new whole thing. But with this one, I thought about the Star Wars franchise a lot. Thought about other ones where they really do feel like you were learning about Luke Skywalker and then Princess Leia and Han Solo, and then you watch the evolution of all those characters and the new generation and so forth. And I wanted it, when I read the first script from Chris Sparling, I love this family.
Yeah.
I was like, this family is my family. This family is any of our families. It's who we are. They're who represent the people that they come across, or who represent us as human beings, and all the different, like you said, shades of gray that we deal with in life. And it was always about the next chapter. Like I wanted the movies to be where you could literally watch them in a 4-hour run, and they would feel like, yeah, they're two chapters, but they're the same story. You're just seeing the final act.
I mean, the fact that you get to do both of these chapters, and it starts with you, it continues with you. I just love that. Now, I do have to ask you, how challenging was the editing on this one? Because granted, we're following the Garrity journey, but there are so many moving pieces within that journey. So how challenging was the edit on this one?
They're always a challenge when you're dealing with so many visual effects, because a lot of that stuff doesn't come in until the last minute. So when you're making a practical movie, you can advance the editorial part of it a long, long way, and then you start seeing all the cool cosmetic stuff come in. But when you're dealing with like real stuff of like in the ocean, by the way, you know, and all the lifeboat stuff and the tsunamis and different huge things that you have to, that take a lot of time and visual effects to get to the evolution of where you actually can understand it. You're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, because it's not until that stuff locks in where you understand your pacing and your flow. So it's a kind of hurry up and wait type of a situation where you spend a lot of time looking at all of the other things, in the movie, and doing the best you can in these areas of sometimes cutting in the pre-viz or the post-viz or whatever it may be. But all of that's kind of smoke and mirrors and BS until you see the real thing, and then you start evolving it. And then you've got, like, I don't know how many movies we've done together now, but David Buckley just keeps blowing himself out of the map with new scores and new emotional rides that just blow my mind. I wish I was musically inclined at all, but he's just always such an extraordinary composer. And then yet sometimes I'm having to go, yeah, by the way, we need this like next week because we just got the sequence in, and he's finally getting to see what it really is, and then having to custom tailor it. It kind of puts everybody behind it a bit, but that's nothing new when you're dealing with these type of movies. But it's always an involvement when you're dealing with the visual effects world, and you're trying to make stuff look as real as possible. That stuff takes time.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up David, because this is now, your fourth film, and then I think he did Shelter as well, so 5 films that you've done with David. I just love the score here. It is so moving. He's got some beautiful character motifs and poignant highlights. We get into that third act, and there is one segment there where the sky is getting lighter, and you hear almost an angelic chorale of voices that really plays into the hope that we are seeing and feeling within John Garrity. Absolutely beautiful score. I think this one has the most poignancy out of the other scores that he's done for you. It's really beautiful, Rick.
Thank you. I agree. I wish I could. I always challenge him, like, well, how are you going to figure this one out? And he just comes up with it. I mean, we'll talk about the other movie at a different time, but his score for Shelter now, like, he just went to a whole other level of outside of what I've ever heard from him before. It just blew my mind. And the way that Greenland, the first score, played on the voices and so forth, and then we wanted to carry that journey and do it in a very different way of the uncertainty of the world and the stakes of things, and not only the uncertainty of everything as a sum, but also your lead character and his own uncertainty of what his own mortality is, and the evolution of a son and so forth. You hear all that nuance in Buckley's score.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Shelter, and to see, because I'll see anything with Jason in it, and I'll see anything that you direct. It's a win-win for me. Now, mentioning music, though, I do have to comment early on in The Bunker when they're having that disco night. They're kind of partying in there, and music starts playing, and I cracked up. Jerry was just so hilarious in his delivery of this, talking about the crappy music. This is what you bring. We're going to a bunker, and this is what you people bring. And it really was, like, out of everything you could have picked, whatever that was, and that's another, it made me laugh. Because, when you're leaving and going somewhere, you want to bring all your best CDs. You want to bring this. You want to bring that. But whoever was picking out music really brought some interesting choices, and the fact that you actually address that in the film, and Jerry does it with such humor, with a slightly snarky edge to it, is fantastic. And it goes against the beautiful score that David has given you. So, another contrast that you subconsciously built in here, Rick.
Thank you. It was fun that, it was a different crew from the first movie, but it was great to have the uniform of all of us together, from the cast and the producers and even the studio, because the first movie was made at STX, and this one was, STX was very much a part of it as well, and Anton, but, that Fogelson, Adam, and it went to Lionsgate, and yet this is still with Lionsgate now as our theatrical release in the United States. It's just, we all had this kind of great comfort of what we were doing together and the voice that we wanted it to have, knowing it was a different ride from the first movie, as all of our chapters of our lives should be, but that there should be still a commonality to it that feels like we're wearing the same suit,
So now tell me, you have this out, Shelter's coming out. So what is then next for you? Are you going to take a break? What's the deal here, Rick? Are you going to spend some time with Tanya and the family?
I can't tell you yet, but starting prep in February. Another one that I'm really, really excited about. And I have to be a little coy about this one as it's all coming together right now, but super excited about it. But yeah, Tanya and I and the boys are going to enjoy the holidays, and then hopefully enjoy a great run on Greenland Migration, and then running to London and the premiere for Shelter, which comes out January 30th, and very proud of that movie, and would love to talk to you about it when it's appropriate. And it's all great, yeah. But no, we're going back to work. I like what I do, and have a great family, and we all travel together, so it's fun to have all the experiences together.
And the boys are earning their keep, so
they better.
Well, are you ever going to come to LA so I can see you, or do I have to come to Austin?
I know, it's crazy. I've been to LA one time in 3 years, and it was just for a quick preview. But it's been, I haven't been there in a long time. But when I do, I will definitely look you up.
Well, you have all my info. Somewhere I know you have it. But
for sure.
Rick, this has been so spectacular. Thank you so much. Another job well done. And you have a wonderful, spectacular holiday.
Thank you, Debbie.
Rick, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.